There are important parts of our local government affairs, from a Crystal River City Council and Citrus County School Board meeting last week to the Inverness City Council meeting last night, that the Concurrent hasn't covered yet. Also, Hernando County State Representative Blaise Ngolia officially filed for the state Senate seat currently held by Senate President Wilton Simpson, who didn't deny claims he is going to run for Commissioner of Agriculture, a seat vacated by current Ag Commish Nikki Fried, who has already filed for governor, when Simpson spoke to a local Citrus County Republican Executive Committee earlier this week. Commissioner Holly Davis has asked the Commission to revisit the issue of funding for more Marine patrols for CCSO, something that failed to receive a motion on, but that was discussed as a necessity for future budgets at a special meeting last week. The comments breathed new life into an issue that appeared to be, you knew it was coming, dead in the water. Some insight to next year's budget also became available that includes a 3.7% rollback of the millage rate to keep property taxes the same despite home value increases, effectively resulting in a tax cut for residents. The topic today, though, is going to be more philosophical than it is political. I have two objectives for this column. The first is to convey my genuine gratitude to you as a reader. The second is to tell you about my personal shortcomings this week, in hopes that you might see similar behaviors in others and learn to understand their position rather than be turned off by it. Let's start with the first objective. Thank you for reading. How did I do? Joking aside, I'm truly speechless when I talk to people and they tell me they've been reading. I had run-ins with 3 elected officials this week, 2 of whom said they've been reading, and 1 who has told me in the past he does. It's this third interaction that became a learning experience. The 2 officials on Tuesday were the property appraiser, Craig Dalton, and school board member, Thomas Kennedy. At the risk of betraying their confidence by discussing otherwise private conversations with public officials, I'll briefly describe how this went, since I represented a candidate who ran opposed to Dalton in the primaries, and longtime readers will know the Concurrent has mentioned Kennedy in a string of examples of how officials frame arguments in unproductive ways. Thus, these 2 gentlemen have every reason to be cold, or at least unsociable. The exact opposite was true. Craig sent a follow-up text later in the day to reiterate that it was good to see me, with all the good-hearted nature that he included in the text to me on his victorious election night, after what had been a primary where our side had thrown some jabs his way. Thomas laughed at the comparison I had drawn between him and the suave fictional advertising executive Don Draper, saying he was a fan of the show Mad Men, so he was flattered, but unsure that he was encouraged by the use in rhetorical techniques of persuasion. The third interaction was with Commissioner Jeff Kennard on Monday. As he entered the meeting where Senator Simpson was speaking, he greeted me with the same warm, "How's Bobby doing tonight?" that has been a line I've come to enjoy hearing over the last 5 years. I muttered a soft, "Good, Commissioner," and was off to the back of the room, justifying it to myself that it was to greet others, to hide from the truth that I was avoiding any further interaction. The last thing I've written advocated giving the BOCC the benefit of understanding, but there was still an uneasiness from my end for an underlying implication in my initial Facebook post of potential impropriety. The failure at the national level, which sometimes seeps into our local politics, is the unwillingness or outright inability to talk to people we disagree with. It becomes easier to hate the stranger by vilifying them from afar, rather than engaging with them to seek understanding through conversation. I can be critical of certain non-governmental organizations for a lack of professionalism, while falling short of my own standards. The country can do a little better at learning to talk to one another, but at the end of the day, it starts with the individual. A lesson I learned is easier preached than practiced.